My name is Elena Carter. Last year on Mother's Day, my in-laws stood in my living room and called me a gold digger. Not quietly, not as a joke. They meant every word. Right there, in front of my 8-year-old son. They said I married their son for money. Said I wouldn't survive without him. Said women like me always find a man. Then pretend they built everything on their own. And the worst part? My husband didn't say a single word. That silence was louder than anything they said. Because in that moment, I realized something I had been avoiding for years. I was alone. Not physically, not legally, but emotionally completely alone. And the truth is, that moment didn't surprise me. It confirmed what I already knew. I met Daniel when I was 24. Back then he felt safe. Not exciting. Not unpredictable. Just steady. And when you grow up in a world where everything feels uncertain, steady feels like peace. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. But he was kind. At least that's what I believed. I was already working in finance. Long hours. Late nights. Building something real. I didn't need saving. I needed control. Structure. Security. And Daniel felt like someone who wouldn't disrupt that. First things were easy. Simple conversations. Quiet dinners. No tension. No pressure. Just calm. Until I met his parents. That's when everything shifted. His mother, Patricia, was the kind of woman who could smile and insult you in the same sentence. Polished. Careful. Always watching. Always measuring. His father didn't say much, but his silence felt like judgment, the kind that makes you question yourself, even when you know you've done nothing wrong. First it was subtle. Small comments. Oh, finance? That must be stressful for a woman. You're lucky Daniel is so stable. Little things. Easy to ignore. Easy to dismiss. And I did. 'Cause I thought, if I stayed patient, if I stayed respectful, they would eventually accept me. But they didn't. They adjusted. Their tone didn't change. Just became sharper. More direct. After we got married, it got worse. They stopped pretending. They showed up unannounced. Walked through the house like they were inspecting it, pointing out things that didn't meet their standards. The kitchen wasn't organized properly. The living room felt too modern. Even the way I spoke was a bit too independent. And Daniel? He stayed neutral. Always neutral. They don't mean it like that. They're just old-fashioned. First, I believed him. Then I started noticing a pattern. Every time they crossed a line, he stepped back. Not forward. And that's when it hit me. Neutral isn't neutral. It's quiet agreement. When Noah was born, I thought everything would change. Because nothing softens people. Like a child. For a while it did. But not in the way I hoped. The criticism didn't disappear. It evolved. Into control. Advice turned into instructions. Suggestions turned into expectations. And every time I pushed back, Patricia would smile and say, "We're just trying to help." But it never felt like help. It felt like ownership. Like they were trying to remind me that I was replaceable. That this wasn't really my life. That I was just part of theirs. What they never understood was that I had already started building something they couldn't see. Quietly. Carefully. Without asking for approval. Investments. Real estate. Assets. I wasn't just earning money. I was creating independence. Because deep down, I knew something most people ignore. Security isn't what someone gives you. It's what you build for yourself. And that belief saved me. Because one night, everything became clear. I overheard Daniel on the phone. I wasn't trying to listen, but I heard enough. She thinks she's smarter than everyone. Then he laughed. She handles the money stuff. But it's not real power. That moment didn't break me. It woke me up. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The silence. The distance. The lack of support. It wasn't accidental. It was consistent. From that moment on, I stopped trying to be understood. Stopped explaining myself. I didn't argue. I didn't confront him. I just adjusted. I secured everything. Accounts. Assets. Ownership. Made sure, if anything ever shifted, I would never be the one left vulnerable. Months passed. And then, Mother's Day came. Daniel told me his parents were coming over. Of course they were. Days like that were important to them, because appearances matter most. When people are watching, I kept everything simple. Dinner ready. House clean. No excited. Holding a small handmade card. That mattered more than anything else. Dinner started normal. Small talk. Polite smiles. Then Patricia looked around and said, "You've done well, Daniel. Providing such a beautiful home." I smiled. Said nothing. But she didn't stop. She never does. Some women are just good at finding the right man. There it was. The same tone. The same judgment. But this time, she looked directly at me and said, "Let's be honest. Without Daniel, what would you really have?" Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Even Noah looked up. Confused. Because kids don't understand the words, but they understand the tension. And Daniel? He said nothing. Again. That was the moment. The moment everything aligned. I stood up. Calm. Walked to the drawer. Pulled out a folder. Came back. And placed it on the table. "I think it's time we clear something up." Patricia looked irritated. Still confident. Still expecting control. I opened the folder and slid the documents toward her. Property records. Ownership papers. Financial statements. Clear. Precise. Undeniable. This house was purchased through my investments. The mortgage paid entirely from my accounts. I paused, just long enough for it to land. Daniel's name isn't even on the primary deed. Everything shifted. Instantly. You could feel it. That crack in her confidence. That moment where control disappears. Daniel stayed silent. But this time, it wasn't control. It was shock. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't argue. Didn't need to. I stayed quiet. Because I didn't need to prove anything. But don't ever mistake silence for weakness. Then I turned to Noah. Smiled. "Come on. Let's go get dessert." And just like that, I walked away. Not angry. Not emotional. Just done. That night didn't fix everything. Didn't change who they were. But it changed something more important. It reset the power. Because respect isn't something you ask for. It's something people recognize when they realize they were wrong. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is stay silent until the truth speaks for you. So tell me, if you were in my position, would you have stayed quiet or waited for the perfect moment to prove them wrong?